Hi Marta, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How about you?
Pretty good, thank you.
As usual, in our podcast, we start with new words, continue with news that uses these words, then repeat these words again.
We speak slowly and use simple words so that you, our dear friends, can easily understand what we are talking about.
In addition, you can turn on subtitles, the icon with 2 letters C's, and read and listen to the podcast at the same time.
The more you listen to our podcast, the more you understand. The more you understand, the more you learn English.
Let's start. For the first news, we have the following new words. Escalate. To become or make something become greater or more serious. For example, his financial problems escalated after he became unemployed.
Assurance, a promise, or a positive declaration intended to give confidence. For example, despite repeated assurances that the product is safe, many people have stopped buying it. Synonyms: word, guarantee, promise, pledge.
Although, despite the fact that, for example, she walked home by herself, although she knew it was dangerous. Synonyms: though, while, even if, even though. And our news is Macron says Putin agreed not to escalate crisis in Ukraine. Russia denies promise. French President Emmanuel Macron said during a visit to Ukraine on Tuesday that he'd received an assurance from Russian President Vladimir Putin that he won't escalate the crisis between Moscow and Kiev.
Wait a second, please. He won't escalate. He has desire to escalate?
He won't, not want. It's a contraction between the words will not. So you can say that he will not escalate the crisis. It's just a way of making the 2 words shorter, and it still has the same meaning.
But it sounds very similar to want.
Want is with a very clear sound, want. And he won't, you hear it, and also you can understand from the context.
So he won't and he won't.
Won't.
He won't means he will not.
Yes.
Thank you very much. He won't escalate the crisis between Moscow and Kiev. Thanks.
Although Russian officials acknowledged that the talks between Putin and Macron were very constructive, they also noted that the Russian president made no promise about escalating the crisis. Macron visited Putin at the Kremlin for about 5 hours. The primary goal of the meeting was for Macron to warn Putin against an invasion of Ukraine. The meeting is one of the latest developments in the crisis, which has been building for months as Moscow sent more than 100,000 troops near Russia's borders with Ukraine. The meeting is one of the latest developments in the crisis. NATO and Western powers, including France and the United States, have cautioned Russia against an invasion, a move that some experts and leaders fear is likely, particularly as Moscow annexed Crimea from Ukraine in 2014.
For the second news, we have the following new words. Vaccine. A substance that is put into the body of a person or animal to protect them from a disease by causing them to produce antibodies. For example, the measles vaccine is one of the immunizations that is recommended for all children.
Dose. A quantity of a medicine or drug taken or recommended to be taken at a particular time. For example, the label says to take 1 dose 3 times a day. Synonyms: amount, quantity, measure, or portion.
And our second news is that Nigeria destroys vaccines. Nigeria destroyed 1 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines because they were too old. Many African countries could not get enough vaccines because rich countries bought them. Later, some countries donated vaccines which they did not need. But these vaccines had a very short shelf life. Can you tell me what is shelf life?
A short shelf life means that there was only a little time to use them before they went bad or expired.
Thank you. 1 million doses stayed in boxes and nobody used them. People were afraid that they were dangerous and they did not want them. Last month, Nigerian officials showed a video of how workers destroyed these vaccines. It was important for people to see that they would not get old vaccines. With 200 million people, Nigeria has the most people in Africa. So far, health officials administered around 13 million doses.
It's not good news, to say the least. First off, it isn't very fair that African countries couldn't get enough vaccines in the first place. But then when they did get vaccines, there wasn't enough time. But also, if there are so many people who don't want to get the vaccines because they think that they're dangerous, there's just a lot of problems. And there's not enough people who are vaccinated.
And I understand all these vaccines need special temperature to save them. And I'm afraid that there are in African countries not enough facilities to save all these doses in the right temperature. That's why maybe people afraid that these vaccines are old and are useful and maybe even dangerous.
I don't think so, personally.
You don't think what that people think this way?
No, well, what I mean is that Western countries tend to have this view of African countries that they don't have enough facilities, that it's poor, that there isn't enough anything, when in this case, the reasons why the vaccines had expired and they couldn't use them is because the countries that bought out all of the vaccines only donated them after, when there wasn't enough time to get them to everyone.
Thank you.
For our third news, we have the following new words.
Declare. To announce something clearly, firmly, publicly or officially. For example, they declared their support for the proposal. Synonyms: proclaim, announce, make known, state.
Independence. Freedom from being governed or ruled by another country. For example, Mexico gained its independence from Spain in 1821. Synonyms: freedom, liberty, autonomy. And then we have our third news, which is the day the history of New York began. Before the first European came to the area of today's New York, about 5,000 Native Americans were living peacefully there. In 1524, the Italian Giovanni de Verrazzano was the first European who visited this area. He served the French king and declared the territory a French colony. In 1626, the Dutch colonizer Peter Minuit bought the island of Manhattan from the Native Americans. He named it New Amsterdam. The Dutch declared it a town on February 2nd, 1653. New Amsterdam was a good port and had an ideal location for business. 9 years later, the British wanted the place for themselves and started a war with the Dutch. The British won and renamed the colony New York. A century later, the American War of Independence started. The Americans were fighting the British. The Americans won, and in 1785, New York was declared the capital of the US. In the coming years, New York became the city where people spoke many languages. It was known as Babylon on the Hudson River. Some people also called it the Big Apple or the city that never sleeps.
For the fourth news, we have the following new words. However, used to introduce a statement that contrasts with or seems to contradict something that has been said previously. For example, people tend to put on weight in middle age. However, gaining weight is not inevitable. Synonyms: but, nevertheless, still, though, although.
Celebrity. Someone who is famous, especially in the entertainment business. For example, the magazine is all about the lives of celebrities.
Nominate. To officially suggest someone for an election, job, position, or honor. For example, the film was nominated for several Oscars. He's been nominated by the Green Party as their candidate in the next election. Synonyms: propose, suggest, recommend, submit. The title for this news is The Day the Hollywood Walk of Fame was created. The idea to decorate Hollywood Boulevard with stars of famous people came in 1953. However, it took 7 years to realize it. In the first step, the stars for the first 8 celebrities were prepared. The stars were put on the sidewalk on February 8, 1960, in an official ceremony. Then, stars were made for more and more famous people. Today, There are more than 2,600 of these stars in Hollywood. Each star has a name which is famous from film, television, radio, music, or theater. The stars are like a gallery of celebrities from show business. All people can nominate a famous person for a star. However, the celebrity must agree to be present at the official ceremony and $50,000 must be paid. However, this money is usually not paid by the celebrity, but by his fan clubs or production companies. Each year, about 20 celebrities are selected. Their stars are put on the sidewalk the next year. Today, the Walk of Fame is already 2.5 kilometers long.
I had no idea that they had to, first of all, how it was even created, because everyone knows about the stars that everyone goes to see in Hollywood and how it's so cool, but I never knew that that's how it started, and also that $50,000 must be paid.
Yes, 20 person, you can calculate 50,000 each have to pay, so 1 million just income.
Nothing, yeah.
Just income, yeah, $1 million. It's not big, maybe it's not big money for the Hollywood, but 1 million it's not.
It's enough, let's just say.
For one street, for one boulevard, yeah, why not?
Let's review the new words we used in this lesson. To become or make something become greater or more serious. Escalate. For example, his financial problems escalated after he became unemployed.
A promise or a positive declaration intended to give confidence. Assurance. For example, despite repeated assurances that the product is safe, many people have stopped buying it. Synonyms: word, guarantee, promise, pledge.
Despite the fact that. Although. For example, she walked home by herself, although she knew it was dangerous. Synonyms: though, while, even if, even though.
A substance that is put into the body of a person or animal to protect them from a disease by causing them to produce antibodies. Vaccine. For example, the measles vaccine is one of the immunizations that is recommended for all children.
A quantity of a medicine or drug taken or recommended to be taken at a particular time. Dose. For example, the label says to take 1 dose 3 times a day. Synonyms: amount, quantity, measure, or portion.
To announce something clearly, firmly, publicly, or officially. Declare. For example, they declared their support for the proposal. Synonyms: proclaim, announce, make known, state.
Freedom from being governed or ruled by another country. Independence. For example, Mexico gained its independence from Spain in 1821. Synonyms: freedom, liberty, autonomy.
Used to introduce a statement that contrasts with or seems to contradict something that has been said previously. However, for example, people tend to put on weight in middle age. However, gaining weight is not inevitable. Synonyms: but, nevertheless, still, though, although.
Someone who is famous, especially in the entertainment business. Celebrity. For example, the magazine is all about the lives of celebrities.
To officially suggest someone for an election, job, position, or honor. Nominate. For example, the film was nominated for several Oscars. He's been nominated by the Green Party as their candidate in the next election. Synonyms: propose, suggest, recommend, submit. So, this is it for today.
Yes, this episode has come to an end.
We will be happy if you press button like under this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast.
Also, you can ask questions and write comments under each episode.
Have a nice day.
Bye bye!